Oh, who would be a Wolves fan, eh?
Hello, everyone. Happy Sunday. We are here tonight to review Wolves 1, Chelsea 3. I have got a great selection of colleagues, Wolves Fancast colleagues, here tonight to help me review and go through quite a few things to talk about tonight. So we've got plenty to get into. Thank you to everyone joining as usual. It's always great to get all that interaction on the chat. And again, I'll look to bring that in. But let me get the introductions out of the way first. First up is Ishan. Ishan, how you doing, mate? Great to have you on.
I'm doing good, thanks. Thanks for having me on.
Good, man. Alex, lovely to catch up with you again. How you doing?
Not too bad, mate. You?
Yeah, can't complain. Well, we'll see. I may change my tone throughout this. I may start to complain, but for now, I'm good. Dave, how you doing, Dave?
I'm all right, how are you?
I'm all right. And last but not least, Josh. Josh, how you doing?
Oh, good, mate. It's nice to be back on. Been a while since I've been on. Can't remember what game it was I did last, so it's nice to be back.
Yeah, it's good. No, it's good to get a mixture in today and get a lot of opinions and thoughts into obviously quite an entertaining game yesterday. A lot to go on, a lot to talk about. Without further ado, let's get into it. So, we had Wolves against Chelsea at a very wet and windy Molineux yesterday. Not ideal footballing conditions, and unfortunately for us, that kind of borne out in our performance. But let's get started. So we had the team sheet. So for the benefits of those of you listening, the team, as I'm sure you're aware by now, was Sarr, Doherty, Hugo Bueno, Santi Bueno, Gomes, Armstrong, Hwang, Bolu, Mosquera, Mane, and Angel Gomez coming in for his debut as well. A lot of changes there. Don't think that's what people were expected to see. Your thoughts on the team selection, Ethan?
Yeah, no, I think it was a good team selection. That's probably the one I would have picked, to be honest. Okay. I am surprised they picked 4 at the back, especially against Chelsea. But yeah, I think it's a good team selection.
Your thoughts on the team, Alex? Obviously, both of the new signings coming in for their debuts immediately. I think there was potential talk of maybe 1 or 2 of them starting on the bench and then coming in, but Rob's gone straight with them. Obviously, he's brought them in and he's brought them straight into the team lineup.
Well, it's not working, is it? So he's got 2 fresh faces and they've got to come in because whatever was there before isn't working. I mean, I'm sure we'll get into the formation. I didn't really get the back 4 and Doherty there. I mean, Doherty's not played since Shrewsbury. I don't think he's played since. So that was a surprise to throw him in.
Yeah.
This game, but yeah, a little bit of a surprise to be honest. And yeah,
absolutely.
I suppose the new players have got to come straight in, really.
Well, as long as they're fit, there's only one way we're going to find out if they're good enough, and that's to try them out. So, certainly looking at it from there. And as you say, looking at the formations. So Josh, as we said, the big shock wasn't just the new players coming in, but obviously a change in formation, a return the back 4 that's not been used for a long while, whether that's just to try and fit these new players or felt that he could try and push this forward. Perhaps it's even an indication of him trying it out in readiness for the Championship, where he may be looking to deploy a back 4 where we may be more offensively orientated. What were your thoughts on that formation change?
Yeah, I agree with what you've just said, actually, about the thing with the Championship. I think it's one sight into next season. Obviously, I'm pretty sure he alternated between a 4 and a 5 at Middlesbrough. He's the same hindsight because I thought we did start quite well. So I'm never going to get into it, but I thought we started well. But you look like Doherty in a back 4 in 2026. You know, he couldn't defend in a 5 in his pomp, so he's going to struggle in a 4. You know, maybe I think the idea is maybe go a bit more man to man and things like that. And like you say, trying to prepare for next season, but. You know, obviously, I look at that midfield that Chelsea have got. It's a £300 million midfield, and you know, you could buy the club for that sort of thing. You could buy us for that. So it was hard to see how that was going to work.
Yeah, well, absolutely. And I think, but like Alex, you just said, perhaps it's just a case of Rob's gone back to that kind of right. Let's throw it back up again, see where we are, and look for different options. And do you think part of that also, and Dave, for you, Do you think part of that reflects that's why he brought Doherty back in, maybe as a standard right back, as opposed to maybe other options like Chachira and that where they've played more wing back? And do you think that was part of the reasoning for the formation change, or do you think it was just because he was trying to slot in the new players and style?
Yeah, I think he was. I think because the way we've been playing, I think he wanted the 3-man midfield. So obviously, the only way he could do that was start with the back four. Doherty has said himself he don't like playing as a wing back. So getting up and down as getting up and down the pitch as a wing back, he hates doing that. So getting up and down a right back in a back four, yeah, he's going to hate that even more. So I don't know. I don't understand that at all. I can understand where you're coming from with the championship thing, but I think it's a bit naive from Rob to think about doing it against Chelsea.
Yeah. Well,
do it against the Burnley or West Ham or something like that. Yeah. Not Chelsea.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I do. I just obviously there was a surprise. I've always gone for it, and certainly if you look at it, you can see some logic in there. But I mean, obviously we're showing here as a 4-2-3-1. I would argue it was more of a 4-3-2-1, with Mane actually more in the centre of the midfield, with Armstrong further out on the left, kind of playing in off the left. But certainly we will all agree that it was definitely a back four. And again, the same as Chelsea, I would argue that Chelsea didn't play Enzo in that kind of 10 role there. He was definitely more in the centre of midfield as a 3 with Caicedo and Santos. So I think we probably lined up similar formations. They were probably 4-3-3 and we weren't. I think he's lined up against that, which was interesting. Okay, and as you say, getting into the game. So first 10 minutes, guys, I'm going to ask each of you individually how you thought we did in that first 10 minutes, because there was certainly a tempo there was certainly pace. What were your thoughts, Ishan, in the first 10 minutes?
I thought same as always, absolutely magnificent. I think the fans were properly behind the players. I think the players were playing really well. But I think that for the first 10 minutes that was the case. However, once again, the minute things weren't going right, our heads dropped and we started capitulating again. Yeah, I think that was it. What was your thoughts on the first 10, Alex? I know we'll come on to your thoughts more generally in terms of the game as we go on. But what was your thoughts as we adjusted to that kind of new formation and getting into the game and moving it forward?
It was same as usual, really. It was nice to see Andre Gomez in the middle. Angel Gomez, in the middle. And he finally got a midfielder that could play a forward ball. He was looking to play the long ball and the through balls, and thought this is the first time in a few years that we've had somebody that could do that. And like you just said, as soon as it goes against us, the heads have gone. And it's pretty much game over at that point, and it was as early as the first penalty. So yeah, it was positive until they got that penalty, really, and it was game over effectively.
Yeah. Your perspective, Dave, as Wolves settled into the game, there was a couple of breaks that we had. I remember one from Mane, and we seemed to start on the front foot, which was positive. But how did you see the start of the game?
Yeah, it's rinse and repeat of the last few games, really. We've 10-15 minutes we've been on top of teams. They look shell-shocked that we're actually playing half decent. And then it's like everybody else has said, we just shoot ourselves in the foot and the confidence just goes from the team.
Yeah. And I think, as all of you said, I think we started well, but unfortunately, after getting into that start and kind of building our way into the game, on 13 minutes, we give away the first of 2 penalties, which was, to be honest, it was a penalty, and was dispatched calmly by Cole Palmer, sending Sarr the wrong way for their first goal. And I think for me, and again, I'll get your perspectives, I think after that, it kind of really started to fall apart for us. As soon as that goal went in, I think one of you said already, heads went down, we kind of went in, and we kind of started to play out. But for me, it started to become a bit of a training ground activity, and I think that's where a lot of the anger started to come from. What was your perspective, how we dealt with after the goal, Ishan, in terms of, how we reacted, or, did you think Rob kind of got it wrong at that from then on? Because obviously we were quite defensive at that point. Chelsea were controlling the game quite easily. Would you do differently or?
Well, I think at that point, I don't think he could have done anything differently because they scored within the first 20 minutes, so he can't make changes there and then because it just messes up the team. But I think going with a back four against Chelsea, especially with our defence and our record, you should expect goals, and it's more of an out goal score than. But yeah, after the first goal, our heads dropped, and it wasn't a surprise that they got a couple more.
Alex, we obviously concede quite a lot of penalties. We don't get many given to us, although you could argue that's because we don't attack as much as the other team. But is this a sign of, poor discipline, or am I over analysing this? That, we seem to make bad decisions. We do give away a lot of penalties or clear chances by making rash or silly decisions. And, it's happening quite a lot at the moment. There was Gomez gave one away not too long ago either. Is this something where we've got to either look at the players or look at Rob and the team and how they're coaching? Because, we keep giving these penalties away and keep handing advantages to teams, with golden opportunities, giving them a penalty, whereas they're not having to work for it. What's your thoughts on that?
It's a bit of both. You can blame the players and then Rob himself. I'm sure we'll come on to Rob Edwards later, but it's not like you say, it's not the first time it's happened. It won't be the last time it happens this season. And you kind of think, well, what are you working on in the week? What is the discipline? Is he giving them a telling off at half time? Because, two of them ridiculous penalties to give away, aren't they? I know I've seen a lot of people argue about the second one. It was outside the box. But either way, if the opposition player is running through on goal, why are you pushing them in the back? It's basics, isn't it? Stupid. So the discipline is pretty poor this season. And then look how many players we've got on 8 yellow cards. At one point we're going to have at least 2 or 3 suspensions at once by the looks of it.
Yeah.
So it's just, you've got to start questioning Rob and his backroom stuff as well. Because is there enough sanctions behind the scenes to warrant a discipline?
Yeah.
So, obviously we'll get on to Rob at some point, but you've got to start pointing the finger somewhere, and all pointing at Rob at the minute.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, the second penalty was obviously, this is the one that you're talking about. And just because there was a lot of debate around it and a lot of that. Now, the reality is, through the laws of the game, if the push starts outside but continues inside, and the player goes down, then it is still a penalty. Now, I know that, just to clear that up, because I know there's been a lot of discussion. From my view in the South Bank, I thought it was well inside. The push was well inside. And I think it was absolutely insane, to be honest. It was Sunday League stuff, if I'm honest, in terms of that. Your thoughts, Josh, on that? Mosquera is an interesting one because, listen, he brings energy, he brings dynamism, but there's also this kind of element to his game, and he started to work on it. But for me, this was, you can see he's going away from goal. He's not running towards the goal, he's running away. That's clear. You can see that from the images. Again, is this just rash decision making? Is this him needing to think, or what? Because you can see it's clear as day. It's not even a shoulder.
Yeah, it's really stupid because it was that period of the game where obviously we just conceded and we was practically pending out, within 25 yards from our own goal, and the Chelsea was really finding some nice passes through the lines and things like that, and we was really getting cut apart. And I think it was kind of indicative of the whole season. Brainless mistakes are what cost us time and time again. I know we wasn't playing great, things like that, but we 1-0 down, we're still in the game, and we make such a rash and brainless decision. And it's just so, like I say, it's just what sums up this season. It's poor for Mosquera. I don't see why he does it. Like you say, he brings that level of shit air that we all love and that, but you can't be making those mistakes at this level. But on the other hand, I also look and go, well, the first penalty, just to go back to it, you got Joe Pedro's going away from goal, and your most experienced player, your captain, who's been there and done it, is giving away that penalty. So, Mosquera, lead by, he's gonna make that mistake, because if Doty's going to do something so stupid, Mosquera's going to follow him, because lead by example and all that. It just, and like I say, it just felt like it's summed up the whole season. We still got half a chance in the game. We're poor. Don't make no mistakes. Stay in it. You got a chance, and you go and give away a penalty. And Palmer's not missing penalties, is he?
No. And I think, but that's why I kind of prompted the question, because it's not just one player that's giving away penalties. most of the team have given away penalties at some point this season. And that, for me, that starts to ask a bigger question in terms of how are we setting ourselves up? How are players dealing with this? Are they dealing with this properly? These kind of things that are coming to the fore. I guess, Dave, from your perspective, looking at that penalty, looking at how we've got, again, it was kind of like we'd started to, although we were holding Chelsea, we started to build back, and then we start to then give away another penalty. It just felt like it just sucked all the momentum out of the ground and out of the team. You know what I mean? It's like you said, Josh, 1-0. He's still in the game, and it kind of felt like at 2-0 it was starting to come away from us at all.
It was like a proper run of the play thing. Both of their penalties. They scored the first one, then all of a sudden we was back on top again, and then obviously the two stupid mistakes. It's just sucked, like you said, they sucked the whole momentum out of the ground, out of the players. And I think everybody was sort of it was half the crowd being angry at the players, half the crowd being angry at the referee, thinking he's making some shit decisions. So it was sort of, there was more anger. Nobody knew where to put the place for anger. So it was sort of, it was. I can't find the best way to describe, but I'm trying to say something.
Yeah. Do you think that part of that? I mean, yes, the referee was challenged, and it was very. And I think part of the problem with that yesterday was the very fragmented nature of the game. There was a lot of fouls. There was a lot of players going down, holding their heads, and all this kind of stuff. And we can talk about that as we go. But it just, I think there was also an element of frustration with the fans as well. Frustrated at the ref, frustrated at the team, frustrated at the manager. Do you know what I mean? I think that was that underwhelming sense of like annoyance and frustration in the crowd yesterday. Certainly, that's how I felt. Did you feel the same, or do you feel that's probably oversimplifying things?
That's for me.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. It's just that I think it's. I don't want to say everybody knows who the referee is, but sort of since they've become more mainstream and everybody knows the names, it's sort of most of the fans look at the referee and go, "Oh, he's booked in for blah 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 back in the day, and we'll remember him. We don't like him, so we'll get him straight away." And there's some sort of subconscious bias from the referees, which people think that go against us to the big six. It's one of them.
Yeah, no, I think it's interesting. Now, what I will ask is, we've talked about Doc and the penalty and stuff, and there's a lot of noise in the chat already. And Ishan, we had a quick chat about this before we came online. With Doc, we are going to go through and I think we all agree that there's going to be a lot of outgoings and incomings this summer. Yeah, there's going to be players that are going to want to be part of the championship journey and want to go. Now, Doc is one. He's obviously been picking up injuries. He's been in and out. There's someone who's been put about time for Doc to coach, time for him to go say goodbye. But then it might be we need that kind of personality and character in the dressing room. Maybe not necessarily in the team, but in the dressing room. So my question to each of you is: would you keep Doc in the squad next season? He's going to be one of the more higher salaried players. I don't think, from what I understand, finances will be an issue at that point. But would you keep Doc in and around? Would you expect him to be a first teamer in the championship or squad player? And I'm going to ask each of you what your thoughts are. Ishan, I'll go with you first.
I think Doc will probably still remain in the squad. I think at the end of the day, have we got much choice? No. I do think he has been a good servant for the club. I do think he will probably do well in the championship for a season if we still manage to get back to the Prem after a season. And it wouldn't surprise me if he does start for us, because who else we're going to have at right back? And Chawa is absolutely woeful, worse than Doc, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's your thoughts. Yeah, Alex, perspective, Doc. Does he stay around? What do you see for him next season?
I think at this point it's probably a better idea to keep him, but not for what he does on the pitch. I suppose behind the scenes, obviously we're definitely going to be a championship side next season. You'd expect Chachua to move away. Pedro Lima, is he up to the championship yet? Maybe he's a bit too raw, but then when does he actually start playing and getting a chance? Rodrigo, I mean, we all know how rough and ready the championship is, so I don't think either of them are at a level for the championship yet. Or they probably are good championship players, but not yet. So you're probably looking at bringing somebody in. If we were to stick with the back three, I think he'd be quite okay in a back three in the Championship. Nowhere near the right back or right wing back. So, yeah, probably keep him for that, but I don't think he's going to have a lot of suitors elsewhere anyway.
Would you be disappointed though, Alex, if we were playing with a back five in the Championship?
Not really. That's
Or
what
would you
Nuno,
not be bothered?
not really. That's what Nuno had. So, and that's the best football we've all seen in our lifetime. So, no, I've got no obligations towards it. He's pretty much ingrained in Wolverhampton Wanderers now, isn't it? The back five.
I think so, but I'm just intrigued. Obviously, Rob went with a 4. I suggested that might be with him looking at that. I just wonder if that's going to be part of the challenge. But you're right. You're absolutely right. We played with that with Nuno, and slightly different players, admittedly. But yes, you're right. We absolutely were successful with that formation in getting out of the Championship. So, Josh, Doc, next season, thoughts?
He'd be a keep, but it's a squad player. I think you need guys with experience. You need people who are going to slightly help with that. You're going to have such a big turnover of players in and out. I think you need someone who kind of understands the club and things like that. So for me, it'd be a keep. Again, I wouldn't be surprised if it was a bit like this season, keep him, but he's like club captain sort of thing, and plays the odd game, a bit like how Bath did with Cody and stuff like that. It's just something that I could see happening. Like I say, it's that transition. I'll be disappointed if he's starting 46 games next year in the Championship for us, and there'll be massive question marks if he does. But I think you need that consistency in between, and that progressive feeling to keep at the club. Someone who knows what it's like in the good times as well. Not because a lot of these players that'll like Armstrong and Gomez who are going to be here, and obviously some of the players who we signed in the summer, if they're still here next year, all they're going to know is just lose. So it'd be nice to have someone who actually kind of understands to win him.
Is Gomez going to be here because we got an option?
I think with Gomez, it's a good question. If he does well enough, it's got signing for £7 million, selling for 15 in the summer to another Premier League team. Or if he doesn't do that well, I could see Rob making him the star player of the Championship for us, face of the rebuild.
And Dave, thoughts on Doc?
Yeah, same as everybody else. Just echo what they've all said. Keep him.
Yeah, I definitely feel that, Alex. I think I probably agree with you. I think there's space in there, but certainly not as the wing back. If we are playing a 5, then we know we need wing backs that can get up and down more. And I think Doc's days doing that are done. The only thing that did worry me yesterday is Doc was always, let's be honest, really reliable in the air, but he got absolutely owned by Cucurella aerially, which worries me, particularly going into the Championship, which we know is going to be a more aerial, direct. So, listen, it may have been an off day. You can't judge a player completely on one game. That would be unfair. But there is that kind of nagging doubt for me in the back, and whether he just remains more in the injury room or the treatment room than on the pitch these days. But as you say, from a squad building perspective, I think there might be use there. And then just moving on. So obviously the third goal, which came just 3 minutes after the second, which was the Cole Palmer's hat-trick goal, which, let's be honest, kind of killed the game, with Cucurella getting down that channel behind Doc. Thoughts on that goal? I'm going to mix it up. Alex, first, the third goal. I mean, it feels like another sucker punch, particularly after so. But again, it just shows our fragility at the back at the moment.
It just seemed like a training ground exercise. It's like we've all played Sunday League, and somebody rolls out and let's do attack v defence, and it just felt like that. It just felt like you got a load of lads who probably don't want to be there, I don't want to play in defence.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And they're being asked to play attack versus defence over the park on a Thursday night in the cold. I mean, it's just calamity car crash football at its finest. Yeah. And I don't expect anything else from them.
Ishan, I mean, do you feel that part of that goal was attributed to the back four, and we may have had maybe a central defender covering to provide that support if we'd have had the 5, or am I just offering a simplistic solution?
Right. I think if we would have started with back 5, we probably wouldn't have got the penalties because the gap wouldn't have been there.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think you're right.
Thank you, Josh. Perspective on this goal?
Calamitous. The right hand side was shocking, wasn't it? I mean, that's right in front of me. You could. And the thing is, annoyingly, you could see the goal coming a mile away. Like it was just one ball in behind. It was Hwang who was marking, not tracking Cucurella. You could see it coming, and like I think what's so annoying is everyone saying like the training ground thing. I bet if you said to Rossini before the game, "What's your ideal goal?" he'd have said, "Yeah, Cucurella pulls it back to Palmer, and you get it." You know what I mean? Like it was just so easy, and it was just so frustrating, and it was just so poor. But it's just so like us this season. You know, it's just so easy to get in behind us. We drop deep. We can see headers, crosses.
Yeah,
it just sums us up. Really sums us up this season. And it's just so frustrating.
Yeah, absolutely. From your perspective, Dave, is there anything else we could have done other than prevented it? Do you think we should have done something differently in the run up to that third goal? It kind of felt like the team was just a bit shell shocked, to be honest, and the heads were down. I mean, that's no excuse. They're professional footballers, but should there have been a better? When that ball comes back in, there should be better closing down, better blocking. He obviously gets ahead of the man, for me, quite easily. What are you looking at in terms of changes to that? What we should be doing better in that situation.
It's the fact we've got 7-8 men in the box and not one of them has decided to pick up Cole Palmer's late run.
Yeah.
There should be basic stuff. You see an attacking midfielder run into the box, you try and close him down.
Yeah.
Not one of them's tried to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, not long after that, a few minutes, obviously, there was a player who departed to rapturous applause in terms of his departure. Very similar to what we saw with Jürgen Strand-Larsen, and that was Hwang Hee-chan. Now, let's be honest, he got absolute pelters yesterday. There was a lot of frustration around me in the South Bank that his name was even on the team sheet, let alone, his participation. He got a lot of grief yesterday. Now, I don't think all of it was warranted, but, he's obviously in a situation where he's not playing well. I'm going to give my opinion and suggestion as to what part of the challenge when I've gone through you guys as well. But I guess a question for each of you, in the same way as I've done with Doc, is the reality is that there's no way back now for Hwang. Everyone is just, there's a general apathy towards him in a Wolves shirt. They're actively cheering his substitution like they did with JSL. Is it really the case for the team and for the player that Rob just needs to pull him out for a while now? We've got other options available. There are other players in and around. Is it a case now that we just need to let him just sit out, and if he can rehabilitate, so be it? But do you think that this is the end for Hwang really as a Wolves player, and there's no real coming back? The fans have turned on him. That was clear yesterday. What do you think? Ishan, I'll go with you first.
I don't think so, because Rob Edwards likes him, and I'm going to say I was a big fan of Hwang. I've always defended him against my nephew, who you guys have met, and so against West Ham, first half played well, like everyone else did. Second half went completely missing. Bournemouth, he was either giving the ball away, or every time he got the ball, he was stalling our attack and passing it and doing wrong our passes. And then this game, when he got picked, me and my nephew both looked at the team sheets now before kickoff and thought, what is Rob Edwards doing? I couldn't understand the logic behind that. And but the only thing I would say is that I think all the fans that were booing him when he was going off, I don't think that's the right thing to do, because I don't think it's the right thing to do for the confidence of the player and obviously the team. So that's all I would say on that bit.
Yeah, no, that's fine. In fact, what I'll do is I will throw my theory out. Alex, and I'll get your perspective as well. I think part of the problem with Hwang is that he starts up and he drops down. So he comes down into the pitch. So he starts out so in this case, he was out on the right wing. Armstrong was on the left. But what you invariably find with him is he drops 10 or 15 yards. So he comes into the midfield, which is, let's be honest, he's quite congested anyway. When you've got 6 midfielders in there already, he kind of comes dropping in, which then removes the out ball for the right back or the wing back. And he's in and amongst it. And as you say, Ishan, unfortunately, his tendency is to take a touch, hold it off, and it slows the whole play down, which I don't think is as much of a problem away. But when you're at home and you've got a break and you've got to get onto teams, for me, it comes in and it's like, I need to have the ball, I want to do, and he breaks into here instead of being more of a team player. And that for me was really key yesterday, is that he cuts out Doc's options, because Doc should have an option that's down the line. And he hasn't got one because he's come in diagonally into this centre midfield along with 2 or 3 other players, and he's crowding it all out. Now, there's other issues as well with his touch and stuff at times and passing, and we can go through all of those. But I think fundamentally for us yesterday, he was kind of working against the tactics, intentionally, unintentionally or otherwise, and coming in, and I think that was crowding it out.
For me, he's never been a winger or a right-sided or left-sided winger. His strengths are in front of goal, and I think that's why Gary O'Neill kept picking him. Lopetegui picked him. What's his name? Pereira picked him, and then Robert just picked him. Every one of those managers has pretty much been in a desperate situation of, I need a goal. And who is one of those players that can get you a goal? It's Wang. But he's never going to get you a goal when he's out on the wing. And he's never been that player that you stick him out on the wing and he's ineffective. Every manager that's done it, he's been ineffective under out on the wing. You bring him in the middle, and that's fine. But like you say, you put him out the wing, and then I've noticed the last few games, until we've got a goal down, he's not been too bad. He's grown into the game, he gets a bit of confidence. As soon as the game goes against us, then that's it then. And obviously he's the current scapegoat. So as soon as he does give the ball away, he doesn't do anything he's supposed to, that's it then. You know what I mean? He's worse than anybody else in the world. So I think I was surprised that Rob brought him in, especially after last week when he got cheered to come off. I don't agree with it. And I was really surprised that Rob brought him back in. I thought, you can't start him after that. His confidence must be rock bottom. So to bring him in again, and then it to happen again yesterday, and even worse, there's no way for me he can start in the next few games because you're just digging a deep hole for yourself, for him, and robbed himself. So yeah, it's a bit of a strange one, really.
Yeah. I think, Josh, I'm going to loop you in here. Obviously, there's the thing about the fans, and I think we've got to look at that and say the guy's going out to get pelters every week. Whether people agree with that or not, that's the reality. And as Alex has said, if he's playing out of position and we're putting a square peg in a round hole, then it's not working anyway. So probably means that he needs to either play more centrally or he needs to come out. What's your thought on that?
Got to pull him out the team. I really like. I could understand it, especially when we had that little bit of a run, like the West Ham game and stuff like that. Like, I understand playing and trusting players when you're in good form, but I don't see how he gets starts every week. I really don't. Not now we've got extra players and things. I just do not see how he starts every week. I just think he's got to drop him out the team for me. But I think he's needed to that for weeks. He just adds nothing. He's like playing with 10 men every week, it feels like. And that's just, you can't be doing that in the Premier League. You cannot be playing with 10 players. And he doesn't bring enough goals where you can go, under O'Neill, when he wasn't doing at least you could go, he scores goals, but he's not even bringing goals and assists to the team. So I feel like at this point, it is utterly pointless playing him. And it's all on Rob for that, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, I think the question then is if we go to more of a 5-3-2, which is what we were starting to do, and this is a question for you, Dave, does that mean it kind of falls out anyway? Because, the chances are he's going to play Tolu and Armstrong as the two. Armstrong's the player he's brought in, Tolu's the physical presence. Do you think that actually if we go back to the 5, having experimented with this 4, the chance probably the person that drops out for that additional centre defender to come in, or what do you see, or do you still see that he has an option there?
Yeah, I was just about to say, I think that's the reason why we sold JSL and brought Armstrong in, was to be that person to replace Wang as the big man, little man sort of top, up top. Whereas Armstrong's going to be the man who can run in behind Tolu. Wang seems reluctant to be able to do that. So I think Rob's more trusting in Armstrong than he is in Wang. It's just Wang was already at the club.
Yeah.
So he's had to use him.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think we'll see how it goes. We've obviously got the game coming up pretty straight away in terms of Wednesday. So it'll be interesting to see how he shifts it. But I think either way, it's not having him in the team at the moment isn't working, and it seems to be creating a lot of angst, which is, let's be honest, given the situation, is the last thing we need at the moment. And then obviously 3-0 half time. Let's be honest, the game was pretty much over. And Dan's clipped this, Alex, and I am going to bring you in. You've obviously commented, and I'm going to quote you. Hope you don't mind that. I've watched some shit football in my 1,055 Wolves games, but that made me leave at half time, show. And I'll be honest with you, I don't think you were the only one. There were a lot of people at South Bank and others that were also heading out at half time as well. Just get your reaction, just get your, elaborate on that, and just give us some insights as to where your thoughts were, how you were feeling, and what drove you to that.
Pretty much once the third goal went in, where I sit in the North Bank upper, I can see both sides of the South Bank. So there was droves of people heading towards the subway and up to Molineux Hotel. And for me, I just had enough. I just think, I woke up in the morning, I seen the weather, I thought, I can't be arsed, not interested. I went to pick my granddad up, who's 89. He's been season ticket holder since the 50s. He's seen all the rubbish times in the 80s. I picked him up. He was all dressed up in his coat. He's got this big pack of mac on because he sits at the front of the North Bank. He's walked to his front door and he's gone, I don't want to go. And he literally went, oh, okay, no worries. Carried on. And then I just thought, as soon as that third goal went in, you just thought, well, what's the point? I'm not enjoying it. Don't want to be there. It's become a chore for the last few years. Like I say, I was season ticket holder from 98, 99. I had away season tickets since 02, 03. I've pretty much gone home and away ever since. I've done multiple seasons, every home game, every away game. I went to China pre-season. Even went to Korea after the tournament was cancelled. But I've just had enough. It's miserable. Molineux is not a nice place to be. The whole going to the Wolves is never chore. Obviously, we just do it because that's what we've all done. All of us have, since kids, whatever your situation is, it's what we do. Whether you feel like I've just paid for my season ticket and I'm going anyway. But at that point, then it was 3-0. I thought there's no way back into it. I didn't expect Chelsea to come out and slaughter us because no team has, because they don't need to. Pretty much you look at teams, even Brentford at home, Forest, what was the last one? Bournemouth, Man City away. They don't need to come out and slaughter us because the game kicks off second half. They've won the game, so it's just take your foot off the gas and pass the ball back between the defenders. We've all done it on FIFA, haven't we? You all pass the ball back, waste of time. And it's just miserable. It was just miserable, and I didn't see anything changing. By the time I got to the train, I think, okay, we've scored, but and what? We aren't going to bring it back. I was there when we beat Leicester 4-3 in the Premier League years ago, and you think, we've got nobody to do that now. Obviously, you wouldn't do it against Chelsea, but when was the last time we even scored? It's just miserable. It's a miserable place to be, and I've said enough. I couldn't be bothered being there.
Yeah. I know there was a fan who's in the row in front of me, and he'd gone up from Swindon. That's some serious distance, gents, and he abandoned it at half time because he wanted to get home so he could watch the second half of the rugby. That's how bad we are. People are changing sports, guys. They've had enough. And you were talking, Alex, about the front of the North Bank, and someone's put it in the chat, North Street. Thanks for your comment. I have to say, those people that were to my left, the poor fans in the corner stand yesterday with the ponchos on, that is just unbelievable what they had to deal with. At one point, we were trying to see if we could get them to come into the South Bank because there was obviously space in the South Bank where the people had departed. But at least they could get a bit of a shelter for the second half. Those people who've paid that money, and again, it's a reflection on where we are in terms of we've had that stand for how long, how many years? We haven't even been able to put a cover on it or anything.
They had it in the first year of the Premier League under Dave Jones. I'm pretty sure they put it in then, didn't they? So that's about 20 odd years old.
We did, and then we had to, if you remember, we had to close to refurb it because the concrete got condemned or something. And then, you just... They refurb it, but we still haven't been able to stick even a rudimentary stand over, cover our roof over the top of it.
I had a friend who used to travel up home and away. He went to China with me. He used to travel up from Stevenage, and then the Lopetegui season, he just had enough. I remember he was Leicester away. He left at half time. Brentford, 70 odd minutes away. He left. Most of the home games, he was like, if I don't leave on 80 minutes or 75 minutes, it'll take me an extra hour and a half on the traffic to get out Wolverhampton to get home. So no matter what the score was, 75, 80 minutes, he'd gone. And then he gave his season ticket up. My brother gave his season ticket up a few years back. My dad, our family was always me, my dad, my granddad, and my nan that we used to go. My dad hasn't been back since COVID. He just can't be bothered. He's got no interest in it. I don't know how my granddad still does it. He's 89, but he still goes home and away every game. He's going to Forest with me on Wednesday. He's going to Grimsby next week. I admire him, but it's just, yeah, he must be a bit mental in his old age. Bless him. It's just miserable, isn't it? It's just absolutely miserable. The whole experience. There's no atmosphere. I hate the kind of apathetic feeling towards it. You know, kind of you going into games. Oh well, it is Man City. You know, well, it is Chelsea. I hate that kind of attitude. I know it's sort of expected now where we are, but it's not just that season we've had that attitude. It's been the last 2-3 years where we've just been, you know, it's free hit, that kind of saying, which I hate as well. You're thinking if that's the case, you're writing off half the season because, I mean, if you were writing off Man City home and away and then Liverpool and so on, you're writing off a quarter or near enough half the season. So it's just a miserable place to be. And I'm certainly not, we've all got history of watching us in the Championship. I've got no excitement for it because it's a miserable place to be if you're not in that top six.
I guess the question is, are we starting to see now? Listen, historically, Chelsea would have been a sellout, right? You'd have had a full stadium. We all know that. Reality was, and yes, okay, the weather, but let's be honest, tickets get sold before then. Yes, exactly. You know, before we know. But there was some serious gaps in there, right? And some of those gaps were, let's be honest, were in-season ticket holders. So these aren't tickets that they haven't sold. These are tickets that have been sold, and people have just gone, you know what, sod it. And like you said, Alex, we don't do stuff. Are we starting to see now what the Championship's going to look like in terms of attendances, in terms of that? Because unless we obviously win the league and we're miles away, then everyone will jump in again. But is this the sign of now of everyone now starting to just go, you know what, this is the reality, we're down, we're done. And let's be honest, that's been the case for a number of months now. But is it now starting to reflect in people are saying, you know what, I'm not going to pay my money or I'm not going to pay extra to come and watch this because of what's happening at the moment? Or is that too much of a conspiracy theory, Josh?
No, I think it's spot on. I hear it. Like, I think as well a little bit. You know, when we hadn't won a game until West Ham, there was almost like a bit of anticipation in. Well, we're going to win one at some point. When's it going to be? It was like the anticipation of going. I said like yesterday, like very similar to like what Alex said and things like that. I was at half time. I said to my mates, I said, "What is the point of coming? Like, you 3-0 down at half time to Chelsea. You know it's game over. You've then got Arsenal on a Wednesday night. Again, we're probably going to, you know, 90% to lose that.
And it's on telly.
And it's on telly. And then we've got Villa on a Friday night. I know it's like, you know, a bit of rivalry there, but it's on a Friday night on telly again. You know, there's half a chance Villa relegate us. Do you know what I mean? At what point does it become, and I appreciate like the club aren't going to give you your money back because they'll say, well, hang on, I know it's been crap this season, but if you'd have been winning the league, we wouldn't be asking you for more money. But at what point does the club not go, well, we've got to give something back to the fans? What it is, I don't know how you do it. I suggested, like, if you buy a season ticket next season, they've got to come down in price. And like maybe they give you a free home shirt, something like that. I said, I know it's only something small, doesn't cost nothing. I just think at this point, you need something, a gesture of you know what, we have fucked up these past 3-4 years in particular. We're working to get it right because it is just such a dire place to go. And I agree, there is no point going. It is social for me to chance to see my friends, you know, and have a couple of beers and that. But for a lot of people, I can understand them not going. If you got to come any distance to come to a game, I wouldn't go. At the point now where it's pointless. We're not playing for nothing. What you're playing for? Oh, Mane has a good game. Well, if he does any good, they're going to sell him. You know what I mean? He's practically pointless.
So I mean, that's a really good point you've introduced, Josh, in terms of what are the club going to do about this scenario. They can't change the squad now. Transfer window's closed. They could change the manager. I don't think that will happen because you've got to pay him off, and you've then got to get another manager in who probably won't want a relegation on his CV. So Rob's going to be here, and we'll talk about Rob again in this second in a bit more detail. But is there something that, and again, I'm going to loop you in, Dave, and then Ishan, I'll bring you in. What would you like to see if you were in charge of the club? Josh has kind of introduced some ideas. What would you do to recognise that let's be honest, the shit we've had to go through this season, people like Alex that have had enough and are leaving at half time, and fair, that is his choice and he's more than entitled to do that. What kind of things do you think the club should be doing now to recognise that and to then say, right, what are we going to do going forward?
I don't think there's actually anything that can do. I think it's been that bad.
Yeah.
Unless they give everybody a free home shirt or a free away shirt or just a free shirt altogether, all season ticket holders. I don't know. We could be historically the worst team in the Premier League ever.
Yeah.
There's nothing they can do to recompense it.
Let's be honest, we've all paid at least like £600-700 for a season ticket, or if you're going on match by match, you're looking at 40-50 quid a game, right? What would there's got to be some recognition that they have, like you just said, we have paid to watch the worst team at the moment. Who knows, we may scrape past that, but at the moment as it stands, we're on track to be the worst team in Premier League history, and probably going back into the Football League as well some years as well, let's be honest. Yeah. What would you say, Ishan? What would you like to see, if anything, or is it just get your act together next season and get a team sorted, or would you like to see some gesture from the club?
Put your hands in your pocket and spend some money on the team.
Yeah. I mean, I've got one here from Luke. Sorry, my mouse is just playing up. Sorry, I couldn't get the comment on. He's suggesting £450 early bird season tickets next season and away. An apology because we've only had a quarter of a season's worth of football this season. I think a quarter of a season is probably a bit optimistic, Luke, if I'm honest. But I get where you're coming from. And I think that might be, there's going to have to be some kind of adjustment. But we'll see where we go. Right, let's get back to the game, as much as it pains me to say that. So half-time, there was a swap out. Gomes coming in. I don't know why it's a striker there. That could be an interesting one. But it definitely not a striker. Coming on for Doc. And obviously with Krejci coming on, we switched back to the back five with wing backs, and obviously got the goal 10 minutes into the second half off a corner, which is nice, set piece goal. Armstrong flicking it on, and Tolu, who I think has probably been deserving of a goal in recent games. He's worked hard. There's been, don't get me wrong, there's some poor finishing. We talked about that in the Brentford game, but got his goal, got into there, and I think it did lift us, and it did mean ultimately that we won the second half. Thoughts on the second half generally, guys? I'm going to do it very quickly, just because obviously once the goal went in, it was quite fragmented. There's a lot of fouls, quite bitty. Your perspective, Dave, in terms of the second half, which technically we won the second half, but did you see an upturn in performance? Do you think, Rob, or do you think the formation changed? What did you think in terms of the team performance in the second half?
It was a 50-50 thing. We sort of upped our levels with going back to the back five, but it was Chelsea dropping off because they knew the game was won, so that they could just relax and just play what they needed to play. They didn't need to take no stupid risks or anything. It was nothing special. Yeah.
Ishan, thoughts on the second half?
I think the second half, the lads did start the game pretty well. Yep. I think it was a better performance. I think we were the better team in the second half. However, it was very scrappy. I think the ref, I don't like to blame the ref. I used to play rugby, so I don't like to blame the ref, but I think the ref was absolutely atrocious. Yeah. And I had a mate sitting next to me, and he was saying how it's corrupt. And to be fair, the ref didn't really prove that point wrong.
I think part of what I see now, and I'll be keen to get your thoughts on this, Ishan. You're right about the rugby, by the way, absolutely, and the integrity and stuff that's there. I guess the question for me is, are refs and linesmen becoming, I want to say lazy, and I'm going to use that. It's quite a strong word, but I'm going to use it because they've got this VAR safety net. Do you know what I mean? Some of these.
But that's the thing, right? That I don't understand. This might be me, but this is what I don't understand about the VAR. For the first challenge, you don't see the VAR. For the second penalty, you see the VAR. Yeah. I don't understand why. It's like the referee picks and chooses when they use it, and when it's going on, they don't tell the fans what's going on. we're sitting there for 5 minutes, pissing around in the rain.
Yeah.
It doesn't provide anything for the football. What it's meant to provide, it doesn't provide.
Yeah. I mean, my biggest bugbear is with the assistant referees, as they're called today. I nearly said it by their old name. But, like offsides, they're never given offside. They wait until they hear something in the air and then they put a flag up. Right? That's my conspiracy theory. They wait for someone on the VAR to go, oh yeah, it's offside, and they put the flag up because you never hear them talking.
Yeah, you don't.
And they don't give a throw in, right? And there were so many times when games are going on and they're allowed to play on for like 10, 15 seconds before they come back. Now, what worries me is that in those 10 or 15 seconds, anything could happen. Player could go through, get injured, tackle comes in because the guy's going to make a last-minute decision or whatever. And I think for me, it kind of ruins the game because you've got all it, and then you go winding back, and then I think for me, the VAR shouldn't be there to kind of ref the game. The VAR should be there to cover critical decisions. And it's just, for me, it's like, oh, well, I better let him play on in case he's just onside. And you've got to have better judgment than that.
They're scared of the backlash from social media. Like, for example, I was watching Molineux run through on goal. He clearly got fouled. I'm not just being biased because I'm a Wolf. He clearly got fouled in front of me. And then I know it's a free kick, so they're not meant to. It's like, why they're not using VAR for that then? Because it's a goal-scoring free kick. We could have scored from there.
Yeah,
I don't understand it.
The one that infuriated me yesterday was the Enzo when he tried the Rabona.
Yeah.
He was a good 10 yards offside, and because I sit right where the linesman is on the left-hand side, and was going, just put your flag up.
Yeah.
You can see it's offside, just put your flag up. And it wasn't until 10, 15 seconds later, like I said, the flag went up.
Yeah.
Has anyone watched the Man City game today?
No.
Have you seen the third goal that got ruled out? I mean, I was on about this just. I said, like, the referee's seen that in real time. I don't know if everyone's seen it, but basically, like, there's no keeper in net. Church's shot, and Szoboszlai's pulled Haaland back, and then Haaland's pulled Szoboszlai back. Like, he's literally like 50-50, and it's gone in, and then they've gone to VAR. They've ruled the goal out, give Szoboszlai a red card because he's denied a goal scoring opportunity, and Man City have got a free kick. And it's like the referee's seen that in real time. He's seen that in real time. There was no one blocking his view. He's just looked at it and gone, it's 50-50. He's pulled him. It's a goal. Why is VAR getting involved? Clear and obvious errors. We were sold. Clear and obvious. It was meant to make things more even. It's made the game worse. And what worries me is what's going to happen next season. I do think a little bit, obviously you've got to accept you're going down. You're like, well, I'm in the Championship. At least there's going to be no VAR. But you know what is going to happen next year? They're going to cap it off just to shaft us one last time. They'll put VAR in the Championship. But you know what I mean? It's just like, what it was brought into the game, and it has ruined the game totally for me. And referees, they're getting, it's like main character syndrome. You watch them, and Jared Gillett yesterday, I just thought, what are you doing? Like, some of them, like the 50-50s, you never get nothing go our way. And I hate to be that guy, but that for that penalty of the push, you'll see one won't give in the week for the exact same thing for a push, like in open play, be on the halfway line or something. And it's like, okay, fair enough. It probably was a penalty, but the next time around it won't be. It's just us, and it feels like it is always us.
I think Breno got pushed by Neto in the first half, right up there half. Yeah, no foul given.
Yeah,
it was two hands in the back.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
The ref as well, right? Whenever one of their players was rolling on the floor, even though it was an head injury, he was blowing the whistle every time.
Yeah, they got cramp and they're just blown up.
That was it, wasn't it? There was one in the second half. We had like a corner. It come out. Wolves won possession. It was our own corner. We got the possession. Gusto was on the floor. Bang, head injury. How do referees let themselves get conned like that? I mean, I'm not being funny. You can tell, like today in the Man City game, you could tell right away that lad was hurt when you're going to blow for a head injury. It was ridiculous. Wolves on the edge of the 18-yard box, and he's blowing. And it's a drop ball. Well, Chelsea have 3 players around the ball then. It is absolutely scandalous the way the game's gone and referees and things like that. It is unbelievable. And I can't believe grown men let themselves get played that easily. It's abysmal.
But again, it comes back to the VAR's their safety net. So they'll blow it up and VAR can sort it out for them.
Yeah.
I'm going to make, let's be honest, most of them ain't going to make a call. If I could get my fitness levels up, I'm entirely confident that I could be an assistant referee in the Premier League because I'm going to put my flag up. I wait for the ref to tell me which way it's going to go. He gives the throw, and I just hit my flag. Yeah, I run up and down. I don't have to give offside. I don't have to give because that's VAR sort that mess out. I just keep my flag down, let it play through, and then we can always call it back for VAR anyway. So for me, it is an absolute and that part of me does feel like going to the championship. Okay, we might have some incorrect decisions, but at least we'll have a decision. We won't be sat there or stood there in the stand for 5 minutes working out what the hell they're up to. We'll get on with it and get on with the game. So, I mean, now let's move on to Rob's comments after the game. So he said, after ludicrous mistakes, it's going to be really difficult. You know, his assessment of the afternoon was, my hand is feeling the effects of thumping a door with a bit of anger. Some may have argued he should have been thumped in something else, but there we go. We started really positively, and it was a really promising start. And then after a couple of ludicrous mistakes against a top team with brilliant players, it's going to be a really difficult day for us. So that's his thoughts. However, for me yesterday, there was a turn in social media. And there's a lot of people now, after quite a quiet spell, there are a lot of people now calling for Rob and saying, is this guy the right man to see this club through the rest of the season? The results haven't really turned. There's been some improved performances. And Alex, you've quite rightly said, we haven't been getting slapped a lot, apart from maybe yesterday. We've been a bit more. But reality is we have not been getting any results. We've still been getting beat. And there's been some, yes, we played quite well at Arsenal away and lost. Played all right at Man United away before they picked up. We talked about before we came on live. This is probably our biggest transfer window in nearly, I would say, probably 10 years. Do you guys, and I'm going to ask each of you individually, are you guys confident that Rob Edwards is the man to take us through that summer transfer window and make sure that this squad is ready to go for what we know is going to be a war of attrition in the Championship next season? Or are we starting to see some cracks and we're starting to see the issues now and where his failings are? So, there was, are we at? We're losing. We're back to losing games again. We got Arsenal. We've got Forest away. We've got Arsenal at home. They're coming thick and fast. What are your confidence levels? There's a few people now that have turned on Rob, and I can understand that viewpoint. For me personally, I don't think he's going anywhere to the summer because, as I said before, you've got to pay him off, and you've then got to look for another manager who's not going to want that relegation CV. So, what are your thoughts? Are you confident with Rob, or do you think Rob deserves a crack in the Championship, or should we be already starting to look at other options? Now, bear in mind, he's Jeff Shee's appointment. So Nathan Shee is within his right to say, well, he's not my man, he's Jeff's man. And that gives him a bit of a get-out-of-jail-free card if he wants to pull that. But what are you thinking in terms of the summer? How confident are you that Rob is the person that we need to get ourselves into what's going to be a very challenging summer transfer window? Ishan, I'll go to you first.
Well, I think I said this under Gary O'Neill. I said it under Piera, and I'll say it again. If we sack Rob Edwards, who's going to come to us in the Championship? Precisely. That's the problem. And the other problem that we got is if we do go down to Championship, are we going to get the right players in? Is the board actually going to spend? Because for the last 3-4 seasons, we've actually made a profit on players, and that's not right.
Yeah.
So, and also, I do like Rob. I think he's joined Wolves to help us at the end of the day. He's coming about a quarter way through the season where we're getting battered every single week and playing rubbish. And it's not his players. It's not, he's trying to build a style of play without his players. So I do feel sorry for him. But then at the same time, the big negative that I have of him is he brings on subs way too late. Every game, 70th minute, he brings in his subs. And by the time we could even have an impact on the game, it's way too late. So, yeah, I think he's the best option we've got for the Championship. You know, he did it with Luton. He's done it. You know, he did all right with Middlesbrough for a bit. So yeah, but I think that's another problem as well. The fans are expecting us to go into the Championship and straight back into the Prem. I don't think we will, but that's just my opinion.
That's fine. Alex, your thoughts on Rob Edwards?
There's probably no point sacking him now until the end of the season.
Great.
For next season, I'm concerned because I think that losing mentality is so ingrained in the club now. I mean, we were 8 points behind when he came in. If we lose on Wednesday, we're 21 points behind. You can't keep just going, oh, well, he's here for next season anyway, because that's not good enough. And you can make up, it's not his team and whatever, but it's not improved. Like football's not improved. I know we had a bit of a purple patch in January, but it's not really improved. And I don't know, do you give him a war chest? Is there going to be a war chest to spend? Realistically, the team's going to need a complete overhaul. I don't see any of these wanting to stay. And then I think we mentioned it on the last time I was on. Do you want a load of players just lingering around and another bomb squad? So you might as well just get rid of them.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Whoever comes in next season, if it's Rob or whoever, they're pretty much going to have to rebuild a complete new team. And I don't see Mendes forcing any wonder kids from Porto through the door either, because it looks like that ship sailed. So you are going to have to kind of recruit like Adam Armstrong's, and then maybe he's the man to do it. But I think the losing mentality is going to be so strong. It's going to be so hard for him to attract players to come, because who's going to want to take him seriously after he's at this rate? You're going to struggle to beat Derby's record at this rate.
Well, the fact is, he's done a similar with Luton, right? Mm-hmm. And we've got to look at that scenario that he went to Luton. Yes, he got them promoted. So that's obviously credit in his account. But obviously they got relegated with Luton and he wasn't able to steer them back. They obviously went again. Obviously he was sacked before that point. And I think that's one word of warning. And as you quite rightly said, is we're probably going to need 10 or 12 players this summer.
Yeah.
We know we can see all the players that, you know, Andre, Joe Gomez. You can reel them all off between us, right? There's plenty of players, that we could be very confident aren't going to be wearing a Wolves shirt in the Championship next season.
I think you're looking at Dan Bentley starting the first game of the season, because Sam Johnson will go and sit on the bench at a Premier League club somewhere.
So particularly because he's homegrown, you know what it's
exactly.
like. But so that's what I'm saying is we've got to have in play a manager that can basically replace half his squad, for the Championship, and gel them and get them into a style of play that works, ready. And let's be honest, we've got to do that early. We can't be doing what we did this season and bringing people in at the end of August. They've got to be in at the start of pre-season to play games together. Josh, your perspective, Edwards, are you confident he can pull this together, given what Alex has just described? Or
I personally see both sides to it, and I feel like if you said to me now, I'd be like, I'm not really bothered. I know everyone I agree with what Ayrton said about who to bring in. Everyone keeps clamouring for Rui Pedro Silva, and I don't want to be that person. But why does it? I can't wrap my head around. We do something good. It's Rui Pedro Silva this, Rui Pedro Silva that. It's like he's the manager. But when we do something negative, it's Edwards. Mm-hmm. But then, I don't, because I see plenty of comments on it, and I'm not picking anyone in particular, but I keep seeing that. I don't see who comes in, who's going to trust the club at this point. And I know you said, Greg, earlier that Edwards was a Shea appointment. I would probably make the case it was a Matt Jackson appointment, and Matt Jackson's going to be here. So I'd say, but the big thing for me, and I said when Edwards come in, you can't go and lose the next 6 months worth of games and expect fans to go, oh yeah, I'm happy with that. Let's see how we get on next season. Fans are always going to be unhappy. We didn't really have no new manager bounce. We had a nice little purple patch in the middle, didn't we? We had them 5 games. I think we was unlucky last week. I thought it was really unlucky last weekend. Obviously, we went a bit like this weekend, not good. I see both sides, and I don't think I'll be bothered what happens. I just think he did a big thing at the time to join us, and I wonder why he did that in the end.
Can I offer an easy explanation?
What did he do?
He had more money and a 3-year contract.
But I still think, was it worth the damage to your reputation, knowing that the same job would have been probably there in the summer? Let's be honest.
True.
The only way that job wasn't going to be there in the summer was going to be if we stay up. No one was saving this team. It's shit. We was going down regardless. So other than the fact of, well, you're going to be here in the summer, that's always promised him. But even Rob's got to think, well, I can't take 6 months of battering and go, yeah, fair enough, I'm going to be here next season. And I really struggle. But I do like Edwards. I appreciate the gesture of coming to us, and I would like to see him give him the chance. But I also see the other side. You can't lose every game, and you can see what's going to happen. They're going to lose like 95% of the games between now and the end of the season. For the first 3-4 games of this season, the fans are going to be on his back. Next season, don't win the first 3 or 4. We should have got rid of him. We fucked up. You know what I mean? You can see what's going to happen with that. So I find it really, really difficult to say at the minute. Hopefully, it'd be nice, good form at the end of the season to be able to go, fair enough, Edwards has demonstrated enough for him to stay.
Yeah, like I said, it's a big summer for the club, for the team. It's a big old summer. And last but certainly but not least, Dave, Edwards, your thoughts? As I said, it's a difficult one at the moment. Where are you sat on this?
We had this discussion last week, and I said Edwards is in the Lampard category. He's a great Championship manager, but he's not good enough for the Premier League. So next season, I think he will do perfectly fine with us. I said I don't know if he will go back up next season, but I think he will be fine. What I will say about the transfers, I think he's not going to get much of a say in the players that come in. So it's going to be more of a Matt Jackson, Nathan Shee, that sort that out for him. Because I know he's got some sort of influence because Angel Gomez is coming, but I think that's more of we've got a chance to get him, so let's get him, rather than a smart decision sort of thing.
He's putting himself in the shop window as well, isn't he? That's why I see Angel Gomez.
Yeah. Do you see? I'm going to throw it out to any of you. Do you see us changing transfer strategy potentially to more domestic players? There's been a lot of talk about we didn't bring in Premier League experience, but do you think it's probably going to be a bit further than that? And I'm not going to go as far as the old Mick McCarthy Irish group, but do you see us maybe pivoting a bit more away from the Brazils and the Portugals and that towards more maybe homegrown players that have played in that kind of league and got used to the, Alex, you've talked about the Championship and what an awful league it is, and you're absolutely right. It is. I've just described it as a war of attrition. Well, do you see that happening in the summer, that we will see more players that have either played in the domestic league or are domestic players? In other words, UK players.
You'd take a good bet now. We'll sign Adams in the summer. I would have 50 quid on it, on that certain. Adams will come in the summer. I think we're definitely going to go more domestic. That's not a bad thing, is it? And how many times, as I feel like fans have we gone, why don't we buy for the Championship? You know what I mean? Like, look at the players who come through, like at Palace, Wharton, Eze, Elise, these players that we was in a better standing than Palace. Why have we not gone for them? So, I don't think it's a bad thing. I don't. I just hope. My biggest concern is you buy a load of players like Adam Armstrong, Che Adams, players that are good enough for the Championship or get you at the Championship, and then they won't spend the money, or they'll be hugged. The club will think, oh, let's help. We'll give him a go in the Premier League, like Che Adams. He's crap for this league. He's not going to do it in the Premier League. My concern is you build that team good enough for the Championship, not good enough for the Premier League. You don't spend the money, and then you just giving up and down every season. It's like, and it just defeats your object again.
We will be one of the big boys in the Championship, though. So I think if we're smart, we can cherry pick the best players from the middle tier teams that are sort of ready to play in the Premier League, but they haven't had the chance. The sorts of I said last week, Michael Cooper in goal from Sheffield United. He's about 23. He's going to be an England international, I think, in the future if he steps up.
Hopefully, I agree. That is my concern.
Price put in the group earlier that Vipotnik from Swansea, his top scorer. Swansea going to be nowhere next season. If we can get him in you can probably get him in for 10-15 million.
The problem is as well, you don't want to go down the 90s route to offering players like Che Adams big contracts and they're seen as like a big last payday because they're all kind of in that late 20s, early 30s. If they're seeing a Wolves coming calling, here's a big 3-year contract, and we don't go up in the first 2 attempts, and you've still got Che Adams after his 3rd year, or Adam Armstrong. I mean, what was Armstrong's contract? Was it 3 years?
Yeah,
I can't remember.
Yeah,
I can't imagine he's going to be on more money than he was on at Southampton.
Definitely.
So it's just weird. You don't want to go down that route of offering these average players big money contracts, and then he comes to bite you on the arse. I mean, that's what Blackburn did, and you look at the state they're in now. They threw money at it when they got relegated, and they've never been able to get out of the Championship, and now their owners have lost interest, and now they're just rotting away. So it's quite frightening, really. And like you say, it's a massive summer ahead of us.
Leicester are a similar one.
Yeah.
They've got players on big money down there, 60, 70, 80 grand a week. The 2 out of Tottenham, Winks, and...
You look at some of the teams at the bottom of the Championship now, they've all been in the Premier League. I mean, Swansea, they're in Europe on the League Cup. I mean, everybody goes on about the Me Too side, and they're nowhere near it, are they? Bolton, Blackburn, Charlton, they're all in the Premier League at some point. They're miles off it now.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, let's get some player perspectives. Obviously, we had a couple of new starters. Like to get your thoughts. First of all, Adam Armstrong, we've just talked about him and potential risks, but played left wing, got an assist for Tolu's goal. Obviously coming into a team that is struggling. Your thoughts, Ethan, on Adam Armstrong's debut, his performance?
I think he actually did pretty well, to be fair. I think he didn't really have many chances. He couldn't really do too much, but I think, I think next season he'll probably get 15, 20 goals for us in the Championship. I can say that.
Alex, your perspective on Armstrong?
He's a good, strong Championship player, isn't he? And obviously he's got a good record there. I think it's obviously a sensible move. It's hard to judge him on his first game yesterday against Chelsea, but I think he'll be good if you get this right system and right players around him. I think he's going to guarantee you a good 10, 15 goals next season, which is important. But yeah, time will tell, really. But it's a good option for next season, definitely.
And Josh, we obviously also had Angel Gomez come in. I thought it was quite neat and tidy. Obviously, when Chelsea started to take over, I think he started to struggle a bit then. But I think he offers us something different in the centre of midfield. What was your thoughts on his debut?
I had to laugh a little bit. Like Gomez, the two Gomez is starting together. It's probably the shortest midfield pairing ever fielded, wasn't it? I thought he looked good. It was nice to see a midfielder whose first instinct isn't to go backwards. I find that Andre can do that quite a lot, in particular, very sideways, backwards passing. He's got potential to be a main part of this team, especially if we play that. If we play that foot at the back a bit more, because that was the thing when we signed him. I thought he's a bit more of a slightly more advanced than he would have been than he played yesterday. So that'd be quite nice. Seeing slightly more advanced, maybe getting higher up the pitch in the higher roles, dictate the game a bit better against a quality. Maybe like Wednesday night against Forest. That'd be quite nice to see. But yeah, I thought I'm impressed with the signing. I'm impressed we managed to get him, even if it is just a 6 months of shop window. A fair play to the club for that. I'll give him. That's about the only ounce credit I'll give him at the minute. So yeah, I thought it looked good. Hopefully more to come and he can adapt to the league quite well.
Yeah, Dave, your thoughts on that? Are you in agreement with Josh, or have you got a slightly different take?
Oh yeah, I just thought he looked neat and tidy. He tried to play the line breaking balls. We didn't have the runners at the time because we were playing forward at the back. So, but it was a nice tidy player. It's just a shame. I just hope he's not properly injured and it's just a bit of cramp that he went off for.
I think he hasn't been playing regularly, which is one of the reasons why he's obviously looked to come over. And I know they'd signed a couple of extra players as well, so he was dropping down the pecking order. And I do wonder if, obviously, the Premier League, I would say, is a lot more intense as a league. It's a lot more sprint-based than the French league, which obviously is a bit more stop-start. So I think maybe those kind of things worked against him. A couple of other players I want to call out and get your thoughts on is obviously Matthias Mane, who I feel started brightly, but started to tire. Now, I'd like to get your thoughts on his general performance. Maybe we need to kind of, I don't want to say give him a rest, but perhaps he needs to look at, or is it that Premier League teams are now starting to like mark him out, look for him, and start to build a game plan? I thought he still did well. He tries hard and that. But I'd love to get your perspective on Mane's performance yesterday. Alex, if you want to go first, mate.
I suppose you noticed it against Everton, really, that team, they were double marking him.
Yeah.
So, and he's our only real output, isn't he? I mean, I noticed a few times last week and yesterday, whenever we do get a chance in and around the box, it normally falls to him or it's because of him. And he's trying to take the shot off. But I don't really blame him for that because he's probably looking at his right going, there's Tolu there. He'll probably mess it up and miss. Or I've got Wang and Wang's Wang. So he's the only one really with any confidence, and he's probably thinking, I'm the only one that can put the ball in the back of the net at the minute, or has got the ability and the confidence to do it. So, yeah, he probably is tiring, and teams are figuring him out because it's not hard to figure out, is it? There's only one bright spark in our team, and it's put two people on him and cancel us out the game, and we've got nothing else to offer. So, yeah, it's frustrating. I've seen people try and say maybe take him out of the team. But then what? Do you mean, like, who do you bring in then? I mean, because he's our only option at the minute. So if you take him out of the team, God knows. Put Matt Doherty up front. God knows. He hasn't played there yet, has he?
Yeah, I mean, there's a comment here from Martin. And Martin, thank you for your comments. I'm trying to get as many on as I can. And Dave, I'm going to ask your thoughts on this. Is it the case that sometimes he's overthinking now? Maybe when he first came in, he was just literally playing as a free spirit. Is he now starting to feel like more structured, or is he having to adjust? What are your thoughts on Mane at the moment? Do you agree with Martin?
He's you can tell he's still raw. He's still making light passes, light shots when he should be taking them earlier. It's all just going to come with over time, playing more games. Obviously, once he's in a better team, he might be able to make smarter decisions. But because we're in such a shit team, he probably thinks he's having to do it all himself.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think next season he'll be a completely different player. He'll maybe a pre-season of first team training with a proper team with a different culture rather than a losing culture. It might change him.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you a question, and I think you just answered it for me. Do you still think Matheus Mane will be in a Wolves shirt come the first game of the season? Next season. Do you? Because the challenge is that he's an English player, homegrown player. Okay, there's a Portuguese part, but he's an English. He's got a UK passport, so he's classed as that. He's also under 21, so he wouldn't even need to be squad registered. Do you think that there's going to be, like Josh, you talked about Wharton and Elise and is there going to be a Premier League team that's going to go, you know what, he might be worth taking a punt on at 25, 30 mil, right? And is that going to be enough to turn Bosen ahead and say, well, actually, we can use that to buy, let's say, 3 Adam Armstrongs, right? Based on what we paid for him. So my question, I'll ask you, Alex, as well. But do you think Matheus Mane is going to be in a Wolves shirt at the beginning? I don't know. I have no idea. Being honest with you, but you're confident that he's going to be.
It's going to be one of two situations. It's going to be one where we're stubborn enough to try and wait for the big money, or we sell him for a decent price, get a sell on, and then we ask for him back on loan for the Championship season, so he gets the experience, which would probably be the smart thing to do. But have we got the people smart enough at the club to do that sort of stuff?
It's true. Alex, do you think Matheus Mane will be in a Wolves shirt for the first game of the Championship season?
Probably, maybe for the first game of the season, but I don't think he'll be here next season. I think somebody will dangle money in front of the club's eyes and they'll just think, yeah, it's easy money. It's cost us nothing. And then I don't think we can really, what could we really demand from him, to be honest? I don't think you can be going demanding 30, 40 million for him because he's not that good yet. So, but I think if somebody dangles 15 million, 10, 15 million, I think he'll want to go. Because why wouldn't you want to go and sit on the bench at a Premier League club rather than get kicked about in the Championship every season? Mm-hmm. And that'll be dangled that you get more money. So I think for him, it'll be a win-win. As the club, I think they'll look at it and think, Yeah, well, we can make some money on him and he's cost us nothing. And I think they'll just be desperate for any money in the summer. Similar to Tommy Doyle. I think if was this thing with Tommy Doyle, 10 million, if they got promoted, I wouldn't be surprised if Blues still offered that and they just accepted it anyway.
It's an interesting one because there's a number of players that we've got out on loan at the moment. And I was on about this earlier. So you've got Boubacar Traoré, you've got Sasa, you've got others as well. You've just mentioned Tommy Doyle that are out playing there. And they're all going to be coming back in the summer, in theory. They've got contracts and stuff. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with those guys as well. Do they come into part of that in and out, or you use the phrase bomb squad? I don't want to use that if I can avoid it, but you're right. Are they going to be a group of players that we're going to look to ship on, or are we going to look to reintegrate them for a season? Yeah, Maximus has just dropped another one in, which is Jigger from who's obviously playing reserves at Rangers at the moment. I think he played one game recently in the league as part of a rotated team. So yeah, Josh. Mateus Mane in a Wolves shirt, first game of the Championship season. Bear in mind, this is all recorded, lads, and I've skillfully avoided giving my prediction. But
I'm going to say something a bit contrary to everything else that's said.
Yeah,
I think he's here next season. I think he'll be the poster boy of the Championship rebuild. I think the following year, if he has a good enough year and we don't go up, he's cherry picked. I also think if we go up, depending how we go up, if he was to go up like automatic promotion, I think he stays. If not, I think if they went for the playoffs, they'd sell him as and they can go, well, he's now funding the Premier League for us.
Mm-hmm.
I think he'll be here next year because I'm kind of glad he's fell off a little bit because I really hope he's here and he's serious poster boy material into for what's going to happen. So I think he'll be here next year. Maybe someone could try and tempt us in January for him, but I think he will stay. I could see Edwards going as well. I'm going to give you a chance in the league, and if Edwards is here, he's probably going to feel that level of loyalty. I think he'll be here next year. I think he'll be the poster boy. I think if he gets us promoted, there's a good chance he then gets sold because they'll go, a team will go, oh, bloody hell, he's had a really good year in the Championship. We'll get him now before he's at the Premier League and got hot again.
I think there's an argument, though, that there could be a few teams in and around the relegation spaces in January that might be sweating a bit and look at him as a bit of a catalyst option if he's had a good first half of the season. So I think that's where we would see. But I think it's, like we said, it's going to be a big old transfer window and there's going to be a lot of players coming in and out. One last player I want us to kind of reflect on is Andre. Now, Josh, you were quite correct in terms of calling it out that obviously he wasn't fully fit yesterday, which is why he started on the bench. But nevertheless, he's been very much in and out of the team. And I guess I want to get your individual thoughts on, particularly with Angel Gomez coming in, you would expect him to start regularly now. Do you feel that this is now going to be, we kind of said the same with Hwang, although albeit in different circumstances. Do we see this now as the beginning of the end for Andre in a Wolves shirt? Obviously, subject to other players not getting injured and stuff. Do you see Andre now being, a regular starter in the team, or do we see actually you're going to have a three, if we stay with a three of Gomez, Mane, and Angel Gomez as that three, and Andre's going to be on a bit part player quite similar to that, and ultimately leading to his departure in the summer? I think he's going in the summer regardless, but do we, for each of you, are you seeing Andre as a player that's now going to be kind of very much in the background, waiting for the summer for him to depart? Your thoughts, Alex? Or do you see him being more involved than that?
I think he'll probably just be rotated with the three of them, to be honest. I don't think it's probably the last we'll see of a Wolf shirt. I think you won't see him next year, and I don't think you'll see Joe Gomez next year.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And I'd be surprised if you saw Angel Gomez next year. I genuinely think he's coming here to be in the shop window, have a good 4 or 5 months, and then somebody else will pick him up. He hasn't got to go to a Tottenham or a Man City or a Liverpool. I see, you could go to a Coventry or a Middlesbrough, similar to Mane.
Absolutely.
I mean, they're still Premier League clubs at the end of the day, if they've got promoted or not, and it's better than us in the Championship. So no, I don't think he's a bad player. I think we're looking for another scapegoat along with Wang, and obviously he's a very good defensive midfielder, ball-winning defensive midfielder. But that's it. And I think we all want a bit more. We all want somebody who can smash it in from 30 yards like Neves did and Martinho could, but it's not his game. And it's not Andre. It's not Joe's game. So, yeah.
Do you think it's a case, actually, ironically, that yesterday would have been a better game for Andre, having that number 6 ball in front of a back 4, as opposed to when you've got, let's be honest, you've got 3 centre halves there, and then you've got like an anchor, which is what he is, right? His job is to win the possession and lay it off to someone more creative, right?
Yeah.
He's, like you just said, he's not going to be pinging 50-yard passes. We see the occasional crossfield ball, but it's not his forte. And he's not going to, certainly watching him in shooting training before games in the South Bank, he's not going to be scoring your goals. And he hasn't scored for Wolves. So is he actually more as well that he's a player we don't need in the formation and style that we're playing in? Or do you think that, it's just actually that, he's just not well suited generally? Alex?
Oh, sorry. He's probably, we've always had too many of one and not enough of the other, haven't we? And that's been the case of the Premier League for us. I mean, when you brought him in, we already had 2 very defensive-minded midfielders with Joe and Lamina. I know Lamina had a little bit more going forward. So you think, well, do you really need another one? We could have done with a bit more of a progressive midfielder, box-to-box with legs. But it almost felt like it was too good of a deal to turn down, so you're going to buy him anyway. So it's a bit of a frustrating one. I mean, he was in the Brazil team when he first came to us, and we were all gushing over that. And then he's obviously fell off with our form. So, yeah, it's just, I don't know, it's a difficult one, really. It's just, I don't want him to be remembered as, he was rubbish or this, that, and the other, because he wasn't. He's very good at what he's good at, and you have to accept it as that.
Yeah. Josh, your thoughts on Andre?
I feel for him. I've got to be honest, I feel for him a bit. Because obviously, I know it wasn't, you can't port over what he did in Brazil. But, look at like that clip of when he's at Fluminense and they're playing Man City in the Club World Cup and he's pressing like Rodri on his own box and things like that. But I feel for him because I was only thinking about it earlier. Do you remember the start of the season? Everyone was like, there's not many better midfield pairings outside the top 6 than Gomez and Andre.
A lot of people are saying he's the best number 6 in the Premier League.
Exactly. 6 months later, he ain't good enough for us. Of course, it's not. I think he's been shafted by those around him to a point. I think his head's dropped, rightfully so. But last season he was fantastic. He had the players in front of him that he could go, right, I'm going to give the ball to. He could give the ball to Nori. He's going to progress it 20 yards for him and things like that. Do you know what I mean? Cunha, he could play the ball off. This year, who's he playing it to? Oh, like the ball I've got last week, it's Wang. You know what? I'd play a crap pass into him as well because I wouldn't trust him with the ball at 25 yards out from my own goal. So, I feel for him. And I just hope we could get what we paid for him back. Because, it was a good signing and it deserves better and he deserves better with everything that's happened at the club. And, he's been dropped out the Brazil side after at the World Cup squad, and especially if Gomez goes and he doesn't, you're going to really feel for him.
Yeah, I think they're both well. Ultimately, there was interest in him. I think he's still got enough credit. And, you're not going to be a mug to play for Brazil, are you? Let's be honest, given the players and squad that they tend to have. Dave, you in agreement with Josh and Alex? Anything you want to add to their comments? Or?
Oh, yeah, I think he's been sold a dream ever since he's been here. I think he got brought in. Jeff Shee probably told him a bunch of lies that we were going to try and push for you like he did with Strand Larson. And he's got to the end of his tether and he probably wanted to go in January. He's probably just gone, I could be arsed.
Yeah.
So, but I think I want to try and, the way Rob, I think, wants to play, I think he wants to play with a number 6 bulldozer. And I think he wants Angel Gomez to be the number 8, play the nice little passes, and then he wants Mane to be the floating 10 sort of thing. So I think from the rest of the season, him and Jouer will be changing every now and then, depending on the game. That's the way I think Rob will want to play. Just my theory.
Yeah, I think. Listen, I think he'll be in and out. Rather before he was a first name on the sheet. I think you're right, Alex. I think he'll be part of a rotated midfield. Bearing in mind we've also got Bellegarde in the mix again now. obviously came off the bench yesterday. He's going to be in and around. You just wonder how many of these are still going to be here. And I think we all agree that Joe Gomez and Andre will not be in Wolves shirts. I tested you all on Mane, but I already know the answer that we know that those guys are going to be gone. One last one. Obviously, the return of Pedro Neto yesterday, who obviously caused some challenges, but also was subject to quite a lot of stick from the fan base. And it was and the reason why I'm calling this out is that there's an older gentleman and who's behind me, and he was quite vocal against the booing and that against Pedro Neto, and his reasoning was that obviously Pedro, we got our money for him, we got good money for him. He was part of, let's be honest, one of our most successful teams. It's probably the most successful team in my lifetime, and contributed a lot there. And I know that I think, we look at it and say, he went for a corner and they were giving him pelters, and I saw him like doing this at the South Bank, kind of praying and all this kind of stuff. And I guess my question to each of you is do you think that was warranted, or is it just he's an ex-player, he deserves to get the crap and get on with it, or are we disrespecting someone who came on? Now, Martin already has, and the reason why I did this because I know we're going to get different opinions. So Martin's gone with Neto is such a dick, right? So Martin's sitting on the fence there, obviously, with his statement. I'd just like to get your thoughts in terms of that generally. Is he right to get pelters? I think it was because of the first game back and he celebrated or whatever it was. But just as a bit of an aside, your thoughts on Neto? He deserves the pelters, get on with it. That's just part and parcel. Or are we, is it one of those where we should be showing a bit more to a player that generally did well for us as a club? Ultimately, it's not going to change, but I'd just be keen to get your thoughts, Alex.
Not really. I mean, we booed Jota, didn't we? And I'm not meaning because he's sadly not here with us anymore. Jota didn't do anything bad. He never celebrated. I mean, the thing is with Neto, he didn't need to celebrate. He didn't even score the goal, did he? And he celebrated it, what was it, like a week later? And we still had player the week before, and obviously a lot of bad feeling there. So you kind of understand it. And obviously it just fuels the fire, doesn't it? We need somebody to have a go at every weekend, and there's not much to shout about. So let's do it against the old player. Yeah. And I agree with what Craig just said there. That's why we're booing him. It's not because he's an old player. There's no need for that celebration. He didn't score the goal. Did he even set it up? I can't remember. I can't remember too much about the goal now. But yeah, he's not the first ex-player to get booed, and he won't be the last, really.
No. I'm just intrigued because, as I said, there was quite some, some feedback that way that was coming in and stuff. So I just wanted to just get your sights. As I say, it's one of those. It's going to happen. It happens. Josh, your thoughts?
Not keen on when he did that celebration. Like I say, a week before he's crying because he's leaving. We stuck through a lot of the hard stuff with the injuries. On the flip side, I also think he played for us. He didn't down tools like Nunes did. For me, that deserves like nuclear levels of boo because he obviously went on. That is proper rat behaviour. Didn't think Neto. He played well for us. We got some good moments out of him, and we got paid really well for him, especially after the injuries that he'd had. Obviously, I don't think he's had an injury since he's gone to Chelsea. That's really, and I noticed that yesterday a lot of fans on social media, Chelsea fans, aren't particularly keen on him.
He's put a lot of size, hasn't he? I noticed that yesterday. He's proper bulked up, I think.
Yeah, I mean, the way Bard went off the ball.
Oh yeah,
he's got no competition. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not really bothered. You do what you want. You've paid £735 plus for your season ticket. You can do however you feel for me.
I just found it quite interesting how he's polarised the fan base.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's always good interesting to see where people land on that. Dave, your thoughts?
Well, I'm on that corner flag. I'm only 3 rows up.
Yeah.
So I called him a rat as well because it all just stems back from the celebration.
He was like that, wasn't he? He was like that.
But it was still 2 fingers up and telling him to fuck off. But it all stems off the celebrations. I think he did the same in December, didn't he? When did he score against us in the 3-0 or set up one, and he ran off wildly again. I think it all just stems from the celebrations.
Yeah. Someone's put at least Cunha showed some respect. I'm not doing Cunha because we'll be on for another half an hour, and we've already done. This has turned into a 90-minute special already. One last thing. And Max, I'm going to do it because you're always on the chat and you always get involved. And so I will bow to you and allow this to happen. So last but not least, Max has asked, lads, can you please each say how many you think will stay? Go around. So how many players do you think that are in the squad today are still going to be in the squad tomorrow in the summer? So Alex, again, you don't have to name them. Just how many are you thinking out of the? I think there's about 21. I think at the moment. How many do you think are we going to be seeing still in that Wolves squad?
Probably Dan Bentley and Matt Doherty, and I think the rest will go.
What about Mane?
I think he'll go. I think somebody will dangle the carrot and he'll want to leave, and I wouldn't blame him.
Okay. So you think there's going to be 2 Wolves players remaining?
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
And that's okay. That just shows what a massive.
I'm not bothered if any of them stay. To be honest, they can all. I mean, I've got no affiliation.
Yeah. But I just wondered how many you think. So you think there'll be 2?
Yeah.
That's right. Josh?
I think probably like 7 or 8. Maybe a couple more. I think off the top of my head quickly, Bentley, Lima, Doherty, Mascara, maybe Jackson, because I don't see the market for him. Armstrong. I
forgot about Armstrong. It's a 3.
Krejci,
Mane, Krejci. I'm up to it already. I think you'll just about have a first 11.
Santi?
No, I think Santi will go. I'm trying to think who was on the bench yesterday. Who did we have?
There was a couple of kids.
Bellegarde. I think Bellegarde will get a move.
I think Bellegarde will go.
Wolfer.
I think both left backs will go. Do you know what? I wouldn't be at all surprised if Tolu stayed, because I don't really see the market for him other than some Serie A team.
Do you not think Tolu would be better suited to the Championship? Because the defenders,
I think he'd be better suited playing rugby, if I'm honest, or NFL or something like that, like tight end.
I think if you brought Tolu in the first few years in the Championship, we'd all be going, he's shit. He is rubbish.
Yeah, I think that as well.
But
you paid 30 million quid, so it's like a bit more like a.
Yeah, and because of the hatred towards Dran Larson, I just think he's a change. But I think if you honestly put him in any other Premier League team and that Nuno team, we'd all be going, he is rubbish. He's a proper donkey, cart horse.
Yeah. Dave?
I think Saul will go, Andre, Gomez, Mosquera will go to Spain. And that's probably it. I think we're going to have more than we think.
I think we're looking at. I think we'll end up with about 10, maybe 10 or 11 in the squad. I think there'll be a lot that go. I think Hugo Bueno stays. I think Wolfer goes. There was interest for him. I think he will go. I think we'll still see. And I think some of those, Josh, will be defaulted. I'm not saying we desperately try to keep them.
No, I think.
But I think there will be a few that we will end up keeping. I think we'll get players like, I think Boubacar Traoré could come back. He could be well suited to the Championship, to be honest, because he's quite a physical player. So you might see something like that. I think we keep.
Nasser Giga, who's going to want him?
Well, sorry?
Nasser Giga, who's going to want him?
Well, this is what I'm saying. I think that's as much of a challenge as I think we'll end up over these. Whether we can ship them all back on loan again is another question. Maybe Giga can go back to France again. And it's like, that's the other one. I mean, you've got the chosen one, Marshall Manetzi, who's on loan. There's no option on that. He might be back in, right? Now that'll be an interesting one. But I just think that we'll end up, I think the start of the season, I still think we'll end up with a 10, 11 players. Because I think some of them we just won't find a market for. So there you go, Max. Hopefully that answered your question. Thank you always for your contribution in the chat, mate. We really appreciate it. So I was happy to do that. So, gents, that has been what I wasn't expecting, a 1 hour, 40-minute special for one game. Thank you, Alex, Dave, Josh, Ishan. I know has gone, but thank you. Thanks very much for your thoughts and insights. And, keeping it honest. Alex, I know you were very clear in terms of why you left at half time, and I really appreciate you sharing that with everyone. It's always good to have you on. So thank you, gents, for that, and getting your insights. Thank you to everyone in the chat. It's never fun being a Wolves fan at the moment, but we're still here, we're still going, and we'll get through it. Enjoy whatever remains of your weekend, and thank you, gents, again. Last but not least, up the Wolves.
Thank you.